In this video, we're going to be building a fully automated speed-to-lead voice agent system for financial firms. Financial firms lose out on a bunch of leads on a daily basis, so this system is designed to both recover the leads and get them more leads. Whether you're a financial firm that's looking to build this out, or someone who's looking to offer this to those financial firms, this is definitely the video for you, so stick with me till the end. But before we get started, if you are that business owner who's watching this video, feel free to schedule a free 30-minute consultation with us using the first link in the description. I have only 3 spots open per video, so if you want to grab your spot, do it now. But anyway, let's dive into this setup. This system is going to have 2 different workflows. One of them is going to be for initiating the outbound calls, and the other one we're going to be using to book appointments. So the first 2 things you're going to need for this setup are going to be NAN and VAPI. We're going to be using NAN to build the actual workflows and VAPI to set up the voice agent. So what I would suggest you do is you sign up to NAN. You can use the link I dropped below in the description as well for a 2-week free trial. But once you're inside of it, you're just going to create 2 workflows over here. So now I have 2 workflows and I'm just going to name them 2 separate ones. So both of them are going to be speed to lead for financial firms, and one of them is going to be triggering the outbound call, whereas the other is going to be booking in the actual appointment. So now that we have those 2 workflows set up, we can go ahead and start building this out step by step. And so the simplest way to start this build out is probably by going ahead to VAPI and creating the agent using NAN. So inside of the assistant section in VAPI, you're going to go ahead and you're going to create a new assistant, and you're going to name this something like Speed to Lead for financial firms. I'm going to mark it as a demo, and you're just going to create the assistant and paste it inside it. And here what we are going to first need is the system prompt. Now I've already written this entire thing out for you. You're going to have this available in the resources. And the way you access those resources is I have a Skool community, so in the description there's going to be a link to that community, and once you've joined it, it's going to be pretty clear on where to find those resources. So I have this prompt over here, and the way I actually wrote it was using my custom GPT, so this is also provided in the community. You're going to notice it in a lot of different places, but just know that it helps you write prompts that are basically 100% ready. So now over here we have an agent inside of VAPI that's already halfway set up. For the first message, I usually like doing something like, "Hey, first name, is now a good time to chat?" And what you will notice here is that first name is surrounded by 2 curly braces on each side. And what that just tells you is it's a variable, and a variable is going to be something that we can fill in, and we're going to be doing that using the NAN workflows, as I'll show you in just a sec. And right now we can just feel free to quickly set up the rest of this. So for the model, I prefer to go ahead and use something like GPT 4.1 over here, and VAPI is going to have this slightly weird screen which just shows the changes that you made. You can just click on skip and publish. You can also go ahead and change the voice over here. I'm fine with the current one, so that's good. And in the transcriber, you can also go ahead and change this, but it's fine as it is for now. The next thing we're going to have to do inside of VAPI is set up 2 tools for the AI agent so we can give it the ability to book appointments. On the left hand side, you'll notice there's a section called tools, and inside of this prompt, if you've already noticed, we're going to have 2 tools called check availability and book appointment. Honestly, they're pretty straightforward. I think you can understand what they do without me having to explain it, but now let's just go ahead and set them up. So on the left hand side, as I said in the tools section, we're going to set up 2 tools. These are just some old tools that I was setting up, but we're going to start some new ones from scratch. So let's go ahead and start with the easier one, the check availability tool. And what this is going to be doing is checking the availability of a preferred time of the caller for a consultation. Next up, what you're going to do is scroll down over here to the parameters section. Now, parameters or properties are just going to be pieces of information that the tool accepts and carries over to NAN. And one example of this would be the name, and the name could just basically be just the full name of the caller if you have it. You're going to mark this one as required and click on apply. But since we're only checking the availability here, we're not actually going to need the name, so you can delete it from this one, and we can add the property here. And the only one we're going to need for this is preferred time. And the preferred time is going to have this kind of description, so make sure you copy this format letter for letter because we want to be specific and accurate here. You're going to mark this as required, and you're going to click on apply, and we're going to click on save. The consultations that we're offering in this scenario are 30 minutes long, so we're going to have to mention that here. So the preferred time of the caller in this format for a 30-minute consultation. So just click apply on that, and we're all good to go with the check availability tool. So that's going to save. And one last thing we have to actually add is going to be this server URL. And so this is going to be the appointment booking workflow where we should go ahead and add a webhook. As I always love to say, a webhook is just something that accepts information. So in this case, there's something called an HTTP method. We're just posting or sending the results to NAN or VAPI. But what you can go ahead and do is name this path something specific. So this could be something like check availability, consultation. And when you're copying the link, make sure you're on the production URL, you're using the post HTTP method, and you're copying it here and then dropping it inside of here. Next up, what you're gonna do is you're gonna create another tool. This one's gonna be called Book Appointment. Again, pretty straightforward tool, so let's go ahead and set that up. Matter of fact, you can just drop the same server URL inside of here, and actually what I messed up on is that I named this check availability consultation, where instead it can apply to both of the tools, because regardless of which tool Vapi is going to use, we're going to be sending the information to one webhook. So we can do this something like financial firms speed to lead, and you can copy this link for both this tool and then just go back to the other tool and change the link that we had here. Now on the left hand side here, you're going to have the book appointment tool, and this is pretty straightforward. This is going to go ahead and book a 30-minute consultation for the user's requested time using their name and a description of their needs. So you can click on save, and for the parameters here, we're going to have a parameter called requested time. This is actually going to be in the same format as the other, and what you can just do is go to this preferred time parameter that we add for the check availability tool, copy it, go back to the book appointment tool that we were just adjusting, and pretty much use the exact same thing for the requested time, except just swap preferred and replace it with requested. You're going to mark this as required again, click on apply, and then we're going to add the property, which we're going to call name, and then finally we're going to have something called description. So this is just something very simple, just a description of the caller's needs from the financial group, summarized in 2 to 3 sentences. And this is going to be required too. We're going to click on apply, and then we're going to click on save. And so now on the Vapi end, we're pretty much good to go. What we now have to do is go back to our assistant, go to tools, and then what we're going to do is select the 2 tools. So I don't know which pair of tools this is, but the good thing is that we actually know which tool we should use based on the ID. So the book appointment one starts with FB, the check availability one starts with AA. So I'm going to go to assistants, and I'm going to attach these 2 tools here, and then I'm going to click on publish. And from the Vapi end, our assistant is pretty much good to go. Now what we're going to be doing is testing the agent for the appointment booking and actually setting it up to perform the outbound calls. And as you'll see here, the only thing we currently have in our workflow is just the webhook, but what we're going to do here is we started a chat with the assistant here, and we're going to do that so we can actually test it. So right now I'm just going to have a quick conversation with it. I'm going to go ahead and give it some random number, and so now I'm just going to get to booking a consultation here. Awesome. So here is where I can actually go ahead and book this. So I'm going to give it a random time, something like tomorrow at 4 p.m. And before I do that, I'm going to execute this workflow. I'm going to click on send, and then in just a matter of a second, it should go ahead and trigger our webhook here. And so one thing we're actually going to have to do here, and I didn't think of this before, but we should actually be using the test URL just for now. The reason it can't go ahead and do anything right now is because the production URL can only be used when we actually activate the workflow, and we don't exactly need to do that right now. So we can go back to the 2 tools we had before, and instead of using the production URL, which we had over here, we can use the test URL and just go ahead and replace either of both of these with the test URL. And now if we go back and try chatting with the assistant again, we are now going to be able to have a good conversation and be able to book. So now I'm just going to go ahead and attempt to book this, and we actually have to execute the workflow so that it can call the test URL. So now when I tell it to try again, it has been executed. So now we can pin this data by pressing P on your keyboard, and we're going to be able to work with it from now on. And so the way we're going to do this is we're going to use the switch node, and as you'll see here in the JSON over here, and if I haven't mentioned before, you can access this entire workflow as well as the other workflow in the system prompt completely for free by joining my Skool community. Link is in the description. But anyway, inside of this switch node, we're going to scroll down here. In the body, we're going to notice something called tool calls and the function as well as the name parameter. So you're just going to drag this name over here, and what this name will display is the name of the tool that we are calling and using. In this case, it's check availability. So what we're doing here is just some basic logic. If this is going to be equal to check availability, this is going to go along this route. But if we add the second routing rule, which is going to be used for booking appointments, and the tool name is equal to book appointment, we're going to go on a separate route. And if we execute this right now, it's obviously going to go through the check availability route simply because the result equals what we have over here. And so now what we can start doing is actually checking the availability. So over here, we have just gotten the preferred time that I would like to book for. So December 15th at 4 p.m. What we can do with this is use use the date and time node inside of NAM, and we can add to a date. Something that we're going to do here is drag the preferred time over here, which is the date that we're adding to, or the preferred start time for that consultation. We're going to add minutes to it, and we're going to add 30 minutes to it. And you can probably tell why we're doing this, because the consultations are 30 minutes long. Adding 30 minutes to the end of this will give us the end time, and we can actually rename the output field name to be end time. And when I execute this, you're going to now see in the result that it gives us the end time. It looks a bit weird, but it's still going to work for us, so that's all good. And now what we can do is just add in a Google Calendar node to be checking the availability. And over here, what we can do is click on get availability. I've connected my calendar over here. The way you do this yourself is by going ahead and creating a new credential and then simply signing in with your Google account. I have to select the calendar here. I'm going to select my own, and for the start time and for the end time, we're actually going to have to change this. For the start time, this is going to be the initial preferred time that we were provided with, so it's going to be this one over here, the 4 p.m, and the end time is going to be the 4:30 p.m, or the 30 minutes that we've added to it. And I'm just going to rename this check availability. I'm going to execute, and over here it gives us the result, which is that the slot is available. And now what we can do is add something called a webhook response. Now, if a webhook accepts information, a webhook response will logically respond back to Vappy with some other piece of information. And so that's exactly what we're doing here. And the webhook response requires a specific output format. This is going to be available in the blueprint that you have. Is this particular format, and this requires two pieces of information. The first of which is the tool call ID, and the tool call ID can be found back in the initial webhook here. So we can scroll down, and I believe this is the tool call ID. It looks like it is. So I can just paste that in here, and you can see here it has a call, and then it has the ID over here. And then for the result, we're just going to replace this with a bit of a creative message, or quite simply, we can just go ahead and drop this in. So it's going to directly reply whether the slot is available or not. So that's good for that webhook response, and we are officially done with checking the availability for this setup. Next up, what we're going to add is the book appointment tool, and this is going to require a second test on our side. So we're going to go back to Vappy and do the chat again. It's very convenient that we already have this chat here, so it looks like it's not going to budge for now. So I'm going to tell it to go ahead and try again. And the reason why it cannot do that is actually because we forgot something important in the webhook. In the response section of the webhook, we have to say that we are responding using the respond to webhook node. So we're going to go ahead and do that. And over here, we're going to go ahead and tell it to try yet another time. We're first going to execute it. And as you saw there, it went ahead and checked the availability. And so now it should be able to go ahead and start booking. I'm going to tell it to try again once more. And as we can see here, it now went along the book appointment route, which isn't that amazing. And historically, what we need after this book appointment setup is a specific code node. It's easier for me to explain. I have my code node over here. It just magically popped up. And what this does is it determines the end time. Because the date and time node sometimes gives us the result back in a bit of a weird format, and Google requires us to give it in a specific format, we're going to need to determine the end time this way. And the consultations are going to be 30 minutes long. So inside of the code here, I'm just going to adjust one small digit, and we're pretty much good to go. Now, if I pin this data and I execute the workflow, it's going to go ahead and determine this end time. And as you can see here, it just adds half an hour. So now what we can do is just add a Google Calendar node, create an event, and I'm just going to name this something like book appointment. In the calendar, I'm going to connect my own calendar again, and same strategy here. The code node actually outputs the original time for us as well, so that's pretty convenient. But now what we can do is pretty much finalize this booking setup. And typically what we need here is going to be the summary and the description for the event. And the description is usually just the place where we can toss in specific details, and the summary is just the title. So for the title or the summary, we could say something like Buckside Financial Consultation, and then we can use the name as a variable to personalize this. And then for the description, we can just toss in those two details again. So I can toss in the name, and then here I can toss in the lead description. So if we go ahead and book this right now, it's going to book it. And what we need is just another response to webhook node. We can copy it up to over here, and the tool call ID is already in place for us. But now what we're going to do is change this result. We're going to go down here, and we're going to do something like this. So is the appointment booked? Status confirmed. Once again, I think I'm just going to remove this question to make it more simple, and the status is just going to be confirmed. And that is really it for the appointment booking setup. Now what we can do is move on to the actual outbound calling setup. And now if you want to, you can go ahead and activate the workflow, but make sure that if you're using the tools again, you're swapping out the test URL with the production URL, because that's going to be very important, and otherwise it just won't work. So I'm going to leave it like this, and that's all set up. And now let's go ahead and get started with actually creating the outbound calling system. And you can have an outbound calling system be used in many different ways. I made a whole entire video on 4 different outbound setups, which you can watch on my channel. I believe it's the second most viewed video, so you can check that out. But for the sake of this, we're just going to use something like a schedule trigger. And this is going to trigger maybe something like every 5 minutes. And what this is going to do then is going to get the leads we have in our Google Sheet. Although if this is truly a speed to lead system, we're not going to use the schedule trigger, and instead we're going to use an actual Google Sheet trigger. So whenever a row is added to a specific Google Sheet that we have, we're going to go ahead and actually trigger a call. So isn't that pretty neat? And so just for the sake of this video and not wasting any time, we're going to use a blueprint, and I've shared many of these blueprints on my channel before. As I said, you can check out the other video I dropped about the 4 different setups of outbound calling that you can use, but we're going to be using this one just to really streamline our development of this and make it as fast as possible. So for the Google Sheets trigger, the first thing you're going to need is your email. You're going to use this to create the credential to connect with, and you can basically set this up to kind of monitor the sheet every minute to see if any new rows were added. And so over here I have a sheet. You can just copy my exact sheet over here. You would just put the name, the phone number, the email, the date added, the status, as well as the last call summary to recreate the sheet. And so what we're going to do here is pull the speed to lead for finance document and basically pull the only sheet we have. And here we're going to be able to start going ahead and setting the system up pretty much. Yeah. So when we have the Google Sheets trigger, we're going to be able to, let me actually go ahead and execute this workflow. So it's going to wait until we create an event in Google Sheet. I'm just going to fill it in with a random number because I don't want to expose my details, and we can just execute this. And then what this is going to do is then trigger, and instead of having this loop items over here, which is from a different blueprint but a very similar one which we don't need, I'm just going to have it go directly to the make call node. And what this make call node does is it basically allows us to call any number that we want using just the assistant ID and the phone number ID. And so inside of this HTTP request, we can set up some details. So if I expand it, I'm going to need to go back to Vappy here, and the first thing I'm going to do is copy this assistant ID. I'm going to go back to this request and I'm going to replace it here. So I have that. And then I will also copy paste my phone number ID. I'm not going to leak my phone numbers here, but you can go to the phone number section here, and Vappy allows you to create up to 10 free American phone numbers, which I think is pretty cool. And you can paste any number, any ID inside of here. And an important note, well, before I give you the important note, for the customer, this is just going to be the person that you're calling. So you're going to have to list the person's name as well as their number. But whatever you do, when you are calling someone, just make sure that you have this in this correct format. So for America, for example, the correct format would be +1 and then the 10-digit phone number that comes after that. If you put it in a different format, that's not going to work. And for the name, you can pretty much put anything. I'm just going to put my name from the Google Sheet here. And then for the lead name, I'm going to put in my name here as well. And I believe actually our prompt has the variable first name instead of lead name. So we're going to use it that way. And after we go ahead and do that, I'm going to execute the workflow. Oh, and after we would do that, just for the sake of this, I'm going to go ahead and quickly replace the number I have in here with my number so we can actually complete the workflow, and I can show you how we do it. So I've replaced my number, and now I'm going to execute this, and it's going to call the phone that I'm actually using to record this video. And so right now what it's going to be doing is going ahead and checking the call every 30 seconds to basically see whether I am responding and seeing what is happening during the call. Now obviously I can't pick up here, so I think we're just going to have to let it ring out and pretty much go to voicemail. So it looks like it's going to voicemail there. And so over here, if we check on the status, it's going to say that the call is in progress. And so after another 30 seconds, I'll probably pause this and see you in another 10 seconds. We're going to go ahead and pretty much finish up this system. And so finally, the call has gone ahead and been marked as ended. So I'm going to pin all of the data I have over here just so we don't spend extra time waiting for it to execute again. And I don't want it to wait 30 more seconds. So something I'm just going to do for now is just have the wait amount be 1 second, because I don't want to be waiting 30 seconds every time we have to do this. And now we can route based on the status again. So Vappy can actually tell you the reason for which the call was missed. So if something went to voicemail, or if it was just silent and nothing pretty much happened, or it can say that the customer ended the call, which logically suggests that they actually talked with the person. And so what we can do inside of here is making sure that we're selecting the right document and the sheet. We can go ahead and update the sheet we had before, and it seems like we're not going to be able to do it using the row number, but we can also do it using the phone number. So I can just select the phone number, which we're going to use to match the row, and then here we are just going to drop the summary of the call if there is any. So over here we can see the summary. I'm just going to drop that in there. And as for the status, this would be missed. So I would just mark this as missed. And for the call completed sheet, we would go ahead and do the exact same thing. Connect the correct sheet. Make sure that you're matching based on the phone number, because it's really the only detail that we can use to match rows and then know which row that we should adjust. So add the phone number there. And in this case, we would still be adding the summary for the person, except now what we are doing is we are marking the status as called. And at this point, the full outbound calling setup is ready to go. So if I went ahead and dropped in another row with my real phone number, it would go ahead and call it. And because we're using the exact same assistant with its ID inside of this make call node, you can now use an outbound calling setup inside of Vappy to instantly reach leads. And the benefits of the system are honestly pretty clear. If you can reach a lead within just 1 minute of them being added to your contacts list or their CRM, this is just a really nice way to capitalize on the opportunity, make sure that the lead doesn't go to somebody else, or use what I'm just saying right now and pitch this to go ahead and offer this type of service to another business owner. But at this point, we are completely done with the setup. I'll be dropping all of the resources that I mentioned and created in this video inside of the Skool community. Once again, that link is in the description. And if you are that business owner who is hungry and looking for a setup like this, you can still go ahead and schedule that free 30-minute consultation with me using the first link in the description. As I said, I'm keeping it to only 3 people per video, so if you want to grab your spot, go do it right now. But seriously, for those of you who stayed until the end and really showed your commitment to watching this tutorial, I really do appreciate you. Make sure to comment, like, subscribe. Anytime I do a tutorial like this, it takes me around an hour to record, so I would really appreciate that support. And with that, I wish you a nice rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one.